All right, everybody. We are back with another edition of the Big Go Belt Wrestling Podcast. This is Two James here, along with my good old co-host Jamal the Giant Crab. What's up, man?
What's going on?
And we're here.
Things?
And what?
How are things?
I can't hear you. Say that again, bro.
I said, how are things?
Oh, good. And, another day in the candy store. Tonight, special edition episode because we have a very long overdue show that I am guilty of not making this happen sooner than it has, and that's because the personal life got a little involved, a little bit of traveling, but we're here. We can't wait to get started, and we have the man, Mr. Second to None, the man with many nicknames, because I'm gonna have to add my own nickname after this, but Mr. Second to None, the Juggernaut, Mr. Catch These Hands, Mr. the Gentleman O'Neal, because he's absolutely the nicest man I've ever met in my entire life. We have DeJuan O'Neal today, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on, man?
Gentlemen, what's good? How's everything?
Man,
it's a good time, man.
Yes, that's what it is.
So you're right. Before you get started, I gotta say this is much long overdue, but I guess I had to earn my stripes like everywhere else. No biggie though. We good.
Not at all, man. It's totally all on me. Just the podcasting thing is new to me, and trying to balance the scheduling out and just trying to enjoy life a little bit. And I just was like, oh man, just got behind. And then I was like, look, we doing this. No ifs, ands, or buts. This is happening. Point blank. So this show is all about you. We're going the whole show. We're talking to you the entire show, and that's what it's going to be.
Sounds good to me. Thank you for having me on. In all seriousness, all trash talking aside, thanks for having me on.
Oh, bring the trash, man. Bring the trash talk. We embrace that. Look. We know you're good friends with the Bo Show, and if you've seen that show, he eats and multitasks and does whatever he wants while he was on the show. Talks trash. So, of course, we're going to have the nicest guy in the world on the show, and we have to one up that man, because I know you guys got a little form of a heated rivalry, because my co-host, aka Mr. I'm a egg this on Twitter that night. We're not going to forget that, Jamal, right?
As you shouldn't. I want to say, thank me for the season a little bit.
There's definitely nothing wrong with that. Like Bo and I got like a long history, man. So the rivalry is not as heated. Look at it like a TJP and Rich Swann thing before it boiled over. It's friendly competition, but I always feel like I got something to prove to him because he's been in the business longer, and I'm calling myself second to none. So I kind of put the pressure on myself to kind of outdo him.
Regardless if there was a pin in that match when it eventually happened, what show was that again? Was that Nova Pro? And this was proceeding after the Life is Like a Box of Chocolate show where you debuted at
cool
Nova Pro.
Summer, I believe.
So it was cool for the summer then.
It was cool for the summer.
Yeah. And, Bo had an open challenge. And ironically, the night before that, whatever it was, a little bit of trash talking between the two of you guys on Twitter. Jamal sent me a text saying, hey, pay attention to this. And I'm like, oh, let me go see what Bo's up to again. And it wasn't Isaiah this time. It was you. And when he had the open challenge at the show, I was just like, oh, he Juggernaut has to come and answer out here. And like I said, regardless of who won the match, I'm talking about some of the hardest hitting blows the entire show in that match. I was cringing. It was unfair to everybody around the ring because it was like sonic booms going around. I mean, dude, I see why catch these hands. Like, no one wants to catch those hands because I
mean, that's actually like a motto. My next t-shirt available for release. Sorry, shameless plug. Available for release on Tuesday actually says "Hit Hard AF." Like that's the new motto. So I mean, but going back to the open challenge, I had to come out and answer because you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So win, lose, or draw, I was able to show the boy in the Nova locker room and hopefully some of the fans exactly what I had to offer, and it was good enough to be invited back. So that's all I asked for is the opportunity, and I can almost guarantee not to deliver disappointment.
Well, let me just say this. My rationale behind the whole thing is I don't know anything about anything, but I'm just going off the strength of the BCW show we showed you at back in March, and was like, yeah, that's definitely a name to know, because we're new to the whole scene in Baltimore and Maryland, and then there were a couple names that stood out, and yours is one of them. So I'm thinking, well, if this has to happen, why not him? Because if that's what it was, up in Baltimore, then definitely bring that down to Nova Pro. And luckily, that's been the case, and I'm glad that I have even coincidentally as a part of that. So it's
and no doubt during the Life is Like a Boston Chocolate show, which was the Nova Pro tryout show, which had tons of talent from all over there. And, very, very impressive $5 or $10 show that I cannot believe if anybody wasn't able to make it for whatever reasons, if something came up or whatever. But for whatever reason, for people just missed it, you missed one hell of a treat. And, this was a show where fans was able to make a difference by campaigning who they thought was good and, made an impact. And no doubt I campaigned for you. No bias, because the only interaction I had with you, I spoke to, actually you spoke to me, being the nice gentleman you were. And I was just like this dude has the Nova Pro culture right there, because well-spoken, nice. I mean, very, very overpowering. I mean, we'll talk about specs in a little bit, but very, very overpowering. So can be a little intimidating, but then the nicest guy that you'll ever meet. And I was just like, outside of that suicide dive that you did and knocked out like 3 people, the gear, everything, like, no, this guy needs to be here. And I made sure that I did my due diligence to say, Mike, look, Mike Jr., Big Mike, this guy right here, like, give this guy a chance. And, it is what it is. I'm glad that we're seeing you on each and every show. And we're glad to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you for your campaign. First off, let me start by the Nova fans and the culture and the environment in those arenas is absolutely electrifying. Those have got to be some of the hottest fans on the indie scene. So it didn't take much convincing. I think I saw like a clip or something that they did that got me interested in the show. And obviously, the Bo Show and I are, companions to say the least. It was like, hey, there's this tryout show. So like I showed up. If it's one thing that I've learned, like traveling, like in the business, from, Bob Evans, hell, Mike Bennett, or any veteran worth the salt that'll come across you. Hey, make sure that your gear is on point and make sure that your body's on point. And the rest of it can be taught. Even if you're not the best wrestler or, don't have the best skills, find what makes you and do that extremely well. And, find what the people want and give them that. So that's what I try and do each and every show. So thank you for campaigning on my behalf, and to the Nova fans for those that put my name like on the little ballot that was going around.
No doubt.
Yeah, I think one thing that's like understated and it kind of gets lost in the message for guys starting out is that as fans, and that's, to be bluntly honest, that's what we are. We are fans. Everybody does, a high risk spot. Guys like Keith Lee and Dijak are in play. Jeff Cobb, Ethan Page are in play. So nothing's new anymore. So you got to be a good character now, because you can't just be a technical wrestler or this technically proficient guy or this big ass kicker or something like that. You got to be a personality, a draw in and of itself, because honestly, when we got dudes doing Spanish flies off the top rope and through an announce table like 20 feet to the floor, we're seeing like 630s off of a ladder, and that's commonplace nowadays. If you don't have the gimmick down, then it's going to be a long night for you. So,
I mean, I definitely agree with that, but I think that also there's a place for everyone at the table.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because there's a market for, the guy that wants to see a good story told just as much as the guy who, for every Leo Rush, he'll take an incredible power bomb, off of a 40-foot ladder and stand right up from it. But I think that the key is just being relatable. Chambers opened up with I try and treat everybody that I come across with respect. I respect this podcast because you guys definitely are are your ears in the streets, so to speak. So it's kind of like when Chambers was like, "Hey, let's get you on the podcast." Oh, for sure, let's do that.
Right.
So I try and just serve the people. Bob Evans is really big on that. Who is one of my satellite mentors, who I bounce ideas and stuff off of. He's how can you serve, and that's the kind of mentality that I go into wrestling with, because you never know who is having like a hard week or a hard day, and they may have had $25 in their pocket, and that's what they paid to get into the show. Okay, well, let me make sure that you get your money's worth then.
Yep. Yeah. No, I think that's certainly a good, mentality to have, because, honestly, it does go both ways. We want to be entertained as much as you want to entertain. So if everybody's happy, then everybody's happy and everybody wins.
Indeed. Wins and losses are a matter of speaking in this business, as
right.
you know.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care if, I go out and I lose a match in like 3 minutes. If a kid likes my tattoos and my abs and he comes to the table to buy a t-shirt, hey, he wins, and I definitely win that night.
Yeah, well, you definitely got some fans of your abs at the Baltimore show, so,
Oh, yes. Bring this moment up. Exactly.
No, we'll see that.
Do you remember that? I'm just going to...
Yeah, so, like, what's that like for you? I mean, you're obviously, built like a refrigerator, and, you're a very imposing figure. What are you, like 5'6", 5'7", something like that?
Hey, I'm 5'8". I'm gonna need that inch.
Okay, fine. I'll give you that inch. I'll give you that inch. I can't take that away from you. All right, so like, so just an absolute, the Juggernaut. That's what it is. But then when you see, when you come out, you see that imposing figure, hit hard and then hit harder than that. How does that react? How do you react to like the ladies that are like, well, my boyfriend's out of town? How do you react to some of the men like, well, yeah, but he ain't me though? I mean, does that really come into the play? It affect your your character at all? I mean, I know that the whole thing is built in respect, and there is an understandable line between wrestlers and fans. But some of them, the thirst was real in Baltimore that night.
I had no idea, honestly.
Okay.
And this is not like playing modest or anything like that, but like every venue that I enter into, to me, it's business. It's come in. I need to take my fist. I need to make sure that I don't, break a neck or so. I'll punch you to let you know that you're in a fight. But it's a business trip,
right.
And if the thirst was real in Baltimore that night, I actually had like no idea, and certainly no one made any. Chambers, that look like he don't believe me over there.
No, I was there. And
no. We were there. We look. I'll say this. It was a bit humid in the crowd because there was a lot of moisture in the air. So the thirst was definitely real that night. A lot of sweaty soccer moms in the crowd when you came out.
Hey,
it was whipping it all too.
Soccer moms buy merchandise.
Well, soccer moms got soccer kids, so hey.
So I mean, I definitely that thing is honestly like the furthest from my mind, right? So I listened to a motivational speaker, Dr. Eric Thomas, right? And he says, hey, it's 168 hours in a week. And then he talks about going into like stats and stuff like that. So like, and he says this one thing about how people, they look at LeBron James stats and they don't have any stats of their own. So my physique is a byproduct of me wanting to be the best possible wrestler that I can be.
Right.
Let's.
Right. Is there? Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So we talking about physique, and I brought this up at the beginning of the Noah Pro show when you bashed me about my one bowl of Chipotle that I was eating. So and you told me I would need 6 bowls of Chipotle if I ever wanted to bring in my carb intake for what you were taking daily. But if you could share some light on what is actually your meal prep for the week or daily.
So I meal prep on Sundays usually, and it depends on what season it is, if it's bulking or cutting season for me. But like a general like bulking season is about 7,000 calories a day. So like that is no kidding about 6 bowls of that Chipotle that you were eating. And like I can have a meal. I can come home and have like a hot meal, and then right before I go to sleep, I'm still gonna have a Craig size, a Friday size bowl of cereal right before I go to sleep. It's like a ritual. But the body has an amazing process to digest all of this stuff throughout the night. And I mean, I wake up a lot of times not tired. I mean, my day starts at 4:30 in the morning, and it doesn't end until the last episode of wrestling, which is usually like 10 or 11, and I'm right back up like the next day doing it.
Yeah.
But definitely like a lot of carbs, because that provides the most natural source of energy that there is. But if I'm cutting, then it's a lot of chicken, a lot of broccoli, a lot of greens, asparagus, rice, things of that nature. I mean, if you treat your body right and are safe in a ring, you can do this business forever.
Right. No, absolutely. So you say you watch a decent amount of wrestling. One would presume, obviously, that has to include the Walmart of wrestling, WWE. Outside of Nova Pro and the venues and promotions that you work with, are there any that you haven't worked with that you kind of follow on a regular basis, or is it just you just gotta kind of know what you got? And what's your okay? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. You answered that, and I got a follow-up question.
AML down in North Carolina. I've done 3 of their pre-shows, and that Nova is the Virginia version of AML, or no disrespect to or AML is the North Carolina version of Nova.
Sure.
Just the atmosphere is it's just, you want to work there. You know what I mean? So I find anytime they post, I'm subscribed to their YouTube channel, and I think they're just coming out with a network for $4.99. But I subscribe to that kind of stuff, and I watch. You kind of got to know what's going on in the scene that's around. I mean, obviously, other than WWE, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro, Impact, Global Force is making a huge comeback in the industry, and Jared and those guys are doing great things over there. But on the indie scene, you have to say again.
Are they really?
I mean, I watch it. It's TV.
It's
more
TV.
Exposure.
Yeah.
And they haven't been canceled yet, which is the most important thing. So, right. Once they find their niche, and I'm sure that they'll be right there. And I mean, outside of the major quote unquote promotions, there's Wrestle Circus down in Texas. There's Texas Wrestling Academy, where Rudy Gonzalez and his crew down at. There's Row Wrestling, Reality of Wrestling, who just got the deal with Fight. So I'm watching all of this stuff. Anybody that hangs around me for any amount of time will tell you I'm either working, I'm on Twitter talking trash, trying to find a new avenue of merchandise to get into that nobody on this level has seen. I'm watching people who I feel that are better than me, more seasoned, so to speak. And I'm watching what they're doing, and I'm watching what the guys, quote unquote, at my level are doing, just so A, you don't repeat it, and B, you're finding what gets over and what doesn't.
Okay. So then I guess the next question would be, when you watch all of this wrestling, a lot of indie wrestling, the professional stuff, the bigger stuff rather, how do you watch it as a fan, or what's the difference between this homework that you're doing and watching it as a fan? Can you separate the two, or is it all just kind of mended together now?
Well, no, I think it's important to separate it. Because you can't lose the love for what you do. The expression, if you love what you do, then it's not really a job. So, I mean, I think it's important. And there are times when I'm not booked that I'll find an indie show close to me and just go sit as a fan and watch. There'll be times where I'll be okay, I like what they did. I like this spot. I liked, this. They should have sold to the crowd more. But I'm taking notes.
Right.
But I think it's important, even when I'm doing quote unquote homework on it. I watch a match 3 times. I watch it once as a fan, once as a face, and once as a heel.
Huh.
And the truth, or the thing that usually gets the most over, is something in between the 3 of them.
Right. Absolutely.
So from listening to another interview that you did, you mentioned one of your favorite matches, and one of the key people you look up to is Cedric Alexander and his match with Shane Strickland. So considering what you just said there, what were you able to take from that match that helped you, that makes you a better person or a better wrestler now?
I look up to Cedric like a lot. I mean, if you look at like some of my gear, it's like heavily like influenced from, you know, the area code on the knee pads to the matching, you know, choker, or whatever. Like I just like his style, and there's no question that Shane Strickland is a beast. I mean, the man held 3 titles in 3 of the biggest indies at the same time. So from that match, honestly, watching it as a fan, I was kind of just like, holy you know what I mean? And but as a wrestler or someone doing homework, I learned to and let stuff register. They went for 32 minutes, I believe it is. And everything was registered. And that's really the way to draw fans out. You can be a wrestler, you can go in and do 54 50s back to back to back to back. But then if somebody comes out and tells a better story than you, then none of the flips that you did and none of the bumps that you take mean anything. So yeah, I learned to invest more in the story. And if a certain move or a certain spot fits in the match, then put it in. And if it doesn't, and it doesn't make sense to do, let's not do that. And the fans draw more to the story as a performer. And that's the same thing that makes Dolph Ziggler so good. That's the same thing that makes John Cena one of the best, is the fact that he's able to tell a story. Roman Reigns, I mean, they catch heat from fans because they feel like WWE's pushing them too fast, but Roman Reigns drew a great match out of Braun Strowman. So the storytelling more so than anything else.
I absolutely think that Cedric Alexander is the best in-ring storyteller I've seen. Number one, the match that he had with Kota Ibushi may still be my favorite match of all time right now because yeah, I watched it yesterday. Because I was looking for something, and the Cruiserweight Classic happened to come up in my queue, and I was like, what episode was that? Watched it again, same emotions. Because you're watching the tournament, then you see the build up to that point. But I can watch it right now, don't even remember who either one of them faced before that, and still feel the exact same emotions that I felt back then. I mean, the dude is legit. Kota Ibushi, he speaks for himself. But Cedric, a guy we didn't get the interview, but in our wee days, we got this talk to him at Nova Pro. One of the nicest guys we've ever met as well too, and absolutely has all the tools in the ring, but absolutely I feel is one of the best storytellers in the ring, no doubt. And I think that if I was a wrestler or wanted to be a pursuing wrestler, absolutely somebody I want to mimic myself after for sure. Shout out to Charlotte, North Carolina.
But it's crazy because going into the Cruiserweight Classic, he didn't really have that much fanfare or that much hype behind him. It was kind of like, they were going to put over who they were going to put over, and Kota Ibushi was supposed to advance to the next round, regardless. So, right. But then when he came out and like blew the roof off of the building, like and he drew that same emotion that I feel watching it, the same emotion you feel watching it. How many ever thousands of people felt the same thing. And that match led to him actually getting the job. But like he went in without that much hype. And, I feel like that was something that I kind of gravitated to, especially at Nova.
Yeah, no doubt. The him and Shane Strickland match at Nova Pro was awesome. And, after the match, the speech he gave, the heelish things he was saying in the ring to the fans about the whole Kota Ibushi thing, like I would never forget that. And again, yeah, you're right. I mean, if you knew the guy, you knew the guy. But if you did not know the guy after watching the Cruiserweight Classic, you knew the guy absolutely. So, I
would say that him versus Chet. I would say Cedric versus Chet is like top 5 favorite Nova Pro matches since they've started.
Yeah,
I mean that whole series. And again, like I respect the hell out of Chet Sterling because Chet Sterling can go, like flat out, outright. Yeah. He can go, and I got a tremendous amount of. He's another great storyteller, in the ring. And anytime I'm in Nova and he's at Nova, I'm definitely at the curtain, if not sitting at my merchandise table watching the Chet Sterling match because he's an absolute pleasure in the ring to watch. And you know, even as a wrestler, you can learn so much. It's crazy. Like the key to this business, man, is like, as I'm learning as I go, is the little stuff that you do, and not necessarily, you know, the 450 or the shooting star press. It's about, why did you put that there then?
Yeah.
And that's.
Go ahead.
And it's that kind of stuff. And Chet is one of those guys that he and Logan both phenomenal storytellers. And you know what I mean? I'll get emotionally involved in their match. Like, you know, in both of their matches, because of the little stuff that they put. It's just the little nuances. It's crazy how the small stuff is actually bigger than the bigger stuff.
Look, we're talking Nova Pro. You're naming some of the top talent in the promotion. The simple question right here, because I'm gonna tweet this out as soon as you say it. Who in Nova Pro do you want to work with?
Logan.
Straight to the top. Straight to the champion of the 1%.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily because he's the PWI Ultra J champion, not because of that, but I feel like that he could teach me a lot. And I feel like I could punch him a lot. when he comes through the curtain with his cardigan tied around his neck, I instantly want to punch him in the face. So kudos to him for, you know, doing his job and making me hate him. But I also feel like, you know, at this stage of my career, anybody that I get in the ring with, especially on the Nova roster, can teach me a lot.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that he just put on another instant classic with Eric Royal, which, if I had to pick my dream match for you automatically, it would either be Eric Royal or it would be Tim Donks. No doubt. Ooh. Because we're looking at physiques, we're looking at, you know, the people who has a lot of tools in the toolbox that may, you know, come at you with all different things. And we see how crafty you can be as well too. But if we're talking about trying to break the sound barrier with some chops and some blows, those two dudes right there, I can see some magic.
Listen, I'd love either Mr. Yay. Like, you know, that'll be a classic West Coast versus East Coast beef right there. We're bringing back a minor scale of Biggie and Pac. I mean, I'm Boston, Massachusetts all day long. And, you know, California Love plays, and you know that it's about to go down. They hit hard. I mean, I think that match will be a banger, just like you said. So, I mean, if they want to set that up, let's set that up. You know, I'm game for whatever at this point. I'm just about taping my fist and punching people. That's
okay. I mean, that sounds simple enough. You know, have tape, we'll punch.
Exactly.
So when you,
hey, that might be the next T-shirt. Trademark Big Gold Belt Podcast.
Heard it here first.
We don't have to talk royalties after the show, then. But so you know, this is great. I mean, it's a great attitude to have. It's a great attitude that you never stop learning, and that's with any job. I don't care how long you've been doing anything. There will always be something new that comes to the table that will surprise you. Whether you work in an office or you're a firefighter or you're in the military or you're a wrestler, there will always be something that you can learn from or someone to learn from because you haven't invented it all. But so that's really awesome to see. And now that we're starting the fantasy book Nova Pro, you know, now we need to talk to Mike about some things. We need to get some balls rolling, you know, quickly as the year is coming to an end. Yeah, so we're about 30 minutes in, and I want to switch gears, you know, real quick.
Let's do it.
And you know, talk a little bit news. That's usually what I do. Normally, I would present 4 topics with do we care? But since there's a lot of hot button issues, and we actually have somebody that is on the inside, you know, we want to get your take on you know, certain things. So I guess I'll start off with topic number 1. Ric Flair's niece has said that he's agrees that he slept with 10,000 plus women. Now, first of all, yep.
The line of Space Mountain is always long.
It's always long, and it never closes. And I guess I kind of asked this, beforehand. You've already said that, once you're in the ring, it's all business. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. I mean, looking the way you look, you got to look down and all that. Come easier knowing that, like, hey, baby, I'm a wrestler. How does that work out? Like, can you use a little bit of your babyface tactics to get over on, not necessarily on women per se, but like, since it is all basically psychology, do you find yourself going into character a little bit? Mr. Catch These Hands, hashtag Catch These Hands to a worldwide. Like, how does that work out for you?
Yeah, it happens, especially like in gyms, because people come up with like crazy stuff. They'll quote the famous Kevin Hart line, "You won. What are you doing here?" Or you're big for no reason. Oh no. I mean, just typical ice breaking conversations. But I always treat it like a wrestling match. I'll leave you wanting more. Like, I don't have time for that kind of stuff. I literally, and this is not even like a babyface line. Like, I literally approach wrestling like I'm 10 years behind where I'm supposed to be. Everywhere, like if I'm in a grocery store, I'm concentrating on calories that I'm shopping for. If I'm in the gym, I'm trying to get in and out. If I'm, on a school campus, like I'm trying to learn what I got to get so I can get to the gym. Like I literally want to wake up, have to work out and wrestle. And I want that to be my life. So like everything that I approach is honestly, and that's no line. That's no me attempting to get over. That's literally what I think about.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's awesome. Eat, sleep, breathe the business. Dedication. That's part of the game. So let's move on. The Young Bucks obviously made news when they invaded, so to speak, Raw last Monday night at the arena in Ontario, California. WWE has responded with a cease and desist order on the too sweet hand gesture. Now, your name is the Juggernaut, and that obviously has no physical representation from any comic book characters that may or may not exist. But while you're crafting your persona, is that something that you're cognizant of? Obviously, you settle on a name, and that's great. You have your gimmick, and that's great. But is it something like, well, can I use this? No. Or they'll sue me for that. No. Like, how real is that when you're trying to start, into the business?
I think like as starting out, like it kind of like doesn't matter. Starting out on the indie level, but like the major companies, in my case, it'll be, the comic book guys. Once you start to make like legitimate money, and I'm not talking about, your payout fees. I mean, like once you can start like merchandising and stuff like that, like once you start to make real money off of merchandise and off of the name, that's when you start to make it. I think in terms of like the too sweet hand gesture, I listened to a podcast once where X-Pac was talking about they came up with it because the Turkish mafia used it first and it was a sign of respect.
Right.
And I'm not sure who owns, intellectual property on anything, or can you control even what people do like with their hands or what have you. But I think that in this instance, I honestly feel that the WWE has it wrong. I can see the other side of it where, hey, go ahead and do it because everyone knows who the originators were and is paying homage. It kind of keeps the NWO relevant every time you see it.
Right. Well, absolutely. There are also, I did hear stories where the North Carolina State University has been selling merchandise with that too sweet hand gesture. They've been selling apparel for years now, since the NWA days. So I don't know if you can copyright an actual body movement because who has the trademark on humans? God? I mean, like that.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's
right.
It's one of those things where like the Young Bucks like wouldn't be affected by it because I mean I think you can copyright the phrase "too sweet."
Yes.
But at this point, who doesn't know what that hand gesture means? And
right.
Are you going to sue every fan that bought a ticket when they throw up the Turkish wolf, when they throw it up, and the fans start chanting "too sweet, too sweet"? Are you going to sue everybody that bought a ticket? Like, I can't understand with the long game. I'm not saying that there's not one. I just don't see it.
Well, yeah, and I guess their long game is fight it out if they have to. But in the interim, it's probably more of just like, let's just scare the little bastards, because nobody wants to see the 7-man army of WWE corporate lawyers that they have wants to catch those hands in court. So, but then again, if they have a case, and I think they do have a case, because they're talking about the specific hand gesture, and I don't think that that's something that you can trademark or copyright, because it's a body movement. It's like a sound, unless if it's something that's natural, you can't copyright nature, But then again, I'm not a lawyer, and the internet will tell me I'm wrong immediately. So there's that. But yeah, I think WWE is way off base in a time where they really need a lot of moral support. Surely you've seen the pictures of the half-used arenas for SmackDown and Raw. Their attendance is not as good as it should be. And then now they're coming out and, being the biggest dog and kicking the little guy a little bit with this cease and desist order. It really is a bad look, from a PR standpoint.
I mean, I think that, they're like PR geniuses, but I can't really see how the Young Bucks throwing up a too sweet versus the NWO at a Hall of Fame throwing up a too sweet. I can't really see how it affects their sales. I mean, I don't see them sending a cease and desist really benefiting them some, other than saying, hey, you can't do this. But it's established enough already. It's too far in the game gone. If you're going to pull a move like that, then, I mean, you probably should have nipped that in the bud when it first started. But now, everyone knows.
Exactly.
Seems like bad blood to me. I mean, there was once a time where they were rumored to be coming over to WWE, and it didn't work out because they signed a deal with New Japan and ROH, and they're making all that Hot Topic money and Pro Wrestling Tees money, and they're doing very good by themselves. So, this is one of those little petty instances for WWE. But look, they're infamous for that because, again, we talked about it on Friday. Starrcade is coming back. Starrcade conveniently happens to be right near one of the biggest indie conventions in the U.S. in WrestleCade, which seems to be a super duper petty movement by the WWE. Now, we had this conversation at the table, and we could talk about it on air. What is absolutely your thoughts on this? It was this, how do you feel? First of all, I guess, how do you feel about Starrcade, the WCW pay-per-view making a return?
I loved Starrcade as a kid, coming up with the WCW. It was one of their biggest events of the year. It was their version of SummerSlam, if I'm not mistaken.
Or WrestleMania, but sure.
But it's making it return. Good form. I think that was it could be a brilliant business move. But from a it's a good business move. It's a great business move because you're gonna have wrestling fans there already. Do I think that the timing is a little coincidental? Sure. And then that can lead down a conversation that can get a tad bit controversial in terms of who's doing what and when. But I think that everybody, the WWE audience is different from the indie audience or the ROH audience, or it's a different demographic of people. And from what I understand, people who bought WrestleCade tickets, WrestleCade's almost sold out already.
Yeah.
So I don't really see people going through the hassle of trying to get a refund or anything like that for to attend Starrcade. So I think that the attempt and the foresight was there, but I also think that it may not pan out as well as the WWE may have thought.
Well, that's kind of what I said last week, and I 100% agree with that. I do think that this is a total, it's just petty. They're obviously bringing back Starrcade in the middle of North Carolina to drum up that old NWA nostalgia, and coincidentally, it's one of the biggest NWA-sponsored indie wrestling events of the year, which is going to be held in Winston-Salem, and they're going to be in Greensboro. And obviously, if you are of a particular age and of a particular mindset, question of, do I go to WrestleCade or do I go to Starrcade? And, for prosperity, to be like, yes, I went to a Starrcade. It's not dead yet. And I get that, because there's always money to be made. There's always an angle to be played. I think fans are a lot smarter. And I do think fans are a lot more, aware of the fact that, okay, we see what you're doing. You can have, you have shows at 5 in the morning, and now you got a show right now called Starrcade, really?
I mean, have you? I mean, I don't think it's as much petty as it is arrogant.
True.
In a sense that it like I can see the petty side of it, but I think it's more arrogant than it is anything. Whereas the WWE is quote unquote descending upon Middle North Carolina, and we're going to take away from a 3-day event.
Right.
That is WrestleCade. So I mean that's to me it's more arrogance than it is petty. I think I think that every move that the WWE makes is well calculated, and it has a purpose. They don't do anything without a purpose. And I think that machine is rolling. And like I said, I don't see what the end game is, but it definitely displays the arrogance and the boldness that it is.
Well, speaking of the end game, long-term thinking, John Cena has made no secret about the fact that he is 40 plus, and that this is an official transition to the part-time status, and then on his way out. Like him or not, and I have to respect his career. His track record speaks for itself in the business. And if somebody would have said in 2002 that this guy would be a 16-time WWE champion,
no way.
I would have said no way. But here we are. And the torch has been passed to Roman Reigns. Another polarizing figure, arguably for the same reasons back in 2002 that John Cena was. But do you think that allowing history to possibly repeat itself is the smartest move? I don't think that Reigns and Cena are in the same position at this point in their careers. I think Cena's a hell of a lot further along at this point in his career as Reigns is, even though Reigns is a 3-time world champion. But do you think that big picture thinking over the next decade, is Roman Reigns the guy?
I think he could be. The difference between if you look at them like optically, Roman Reigns to me is a more impressive figure than Cena. In a sense of, he's taller. He's got the whole Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones thing working for him with the long hair and the goatee. But Cena's charisma is off the charts, and I don't think that we'll see a wrestler as charismatic as him for a very long time. So I think that there's room to improve. And this is speaking purely as a fan. There's room to improve for Reigns on the microphone skills, and they kind of shot. They did a shoot about that on Raw.
Yeah, that was great.
But I think that Roman Reigns definitely has all of the tools to like become the guy. I mean, he had FCW on his shoulders, when he was working the Leaki persona.
Right.
But I mean, I just wish that WWE would stop playing with my emotions and turn him all the way heel. I just wanted to see him come out and destroy somebody, and then perhaps he'll get the babyface pop that they've been looking for the entire time.
Right. Well, I want to agree with that, but I'm not seeing anything that would indicate that we're going to have – he's going to pay dividends going forward. Obviously, I can certainly be wrong, but I'm just not buying into it. I think that, you know, in FCW, before they were on the network, I think that was a totally different crowd. That was more developmental than it had ever been. I do think that obviously, you know, that shoot, you know, promo that they cut about a month ago to start this thing off was basically everything that the fans have been saying on TV. So I thought that was great, but even still, it does feel kind of like this manufactured product instead of a organic feeling, like Bray Wyatt when he first started on Raw, like Daniel Bryan during his run with you know, Hunter at WrestleMania 30, like a CM Punk. You know, so we have these figures that have been built from the ground up, like, you know, a Cena, and we've also have figures that have been invested themselves. And I'm not saying the Reign doesn't, but in the, you know, ingenuity, he's been given all the tools, the Performance Center, the WWE machine, and all that good stuff. And they're world class when it comes to manufacturing hype. But there's a difference between him and the Usos, who had to reinvent themselves, or him and the New Day, who had to reinvent themselves, or even Steve Austin had to reinvent himself. Triple H has done it several times to reinvent himself, and I don't think he's on that level right now as a 3-time champion already. So,
well, I don't think he's ever had to. The worst thing that ever happened to Roman Reigns was him being injured. I think that the fans were behind him prior to him catching the hernia and having to have surgery. And when he came back, it was kind of like the WWE was just like, hey, we're just going to pick right up where we left off. And a lot of people didn't appreciate that because, you know, there were a lot of people like working their asses off, you know, while he was like recovering. Now the injury obviously is not his fault, but I think that when he came back, they kind of forced him back into the title picture too soon for, you know, the casual fan. And instead of picking right back up where you left off, why not, you know, tell the story of being injured, or, you know, you come back maybe as a bad guy because you blame trying to impress the fans, you know, for you being hurt. And at that point, I think that we don't run into what we're running into right now, where the guy, neither good or bad, to accommodate. But all points taken, Roman Reigns still sells an enormous amount of merchandise. So at the end of the day, when you're counting royalty checks, he's still winning.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate because you have to quantify it somehow. Yeah, you can't just say, well, his matches, you know, as a matter of perspective, are subpar, just for the sake of argument. But the royalty checks are high. So it's like a singer. Well, she can't sing live, but she sells records. Britney Spears. What do? Is she an actual star? You know, musicians would say no, but the audience says yes. So it's a push. And I think that's kind of where we are with Roman Reigns. You know, nobody's going to call him the next Lance Storm. Nobody's going to call him the next, you know, Rock or anybody like that, as far as either being super charismatic or a technical wrestling genius. But he sells a ton of merch. So what do? Unfortunately, I think he's the polar opposite of Antonio Cesaro, and Cesaro has it all as far as the wherewithal to do things. You know, dude had his teeth pushed in. I've never seen that before, and still went to work. That's insane. But he doesn't register with the crowd in a way that he really, really should, based on his talent. What are you going to do?
I disagree slightly on that note. I think that in ring he does absolutely register with the crowd. I think that Cesaro, and again, I'm speaking purely as a fan, Cesaro is a product of bad booking. The whole Sheamus and Cesaro setting the bar thing was cool, you know, because they hated each other and, you know, they found a way to make it work. But the Swiss Superman Cesaro, I think he's more of a Swiss Superman now than he was when they were actually calling him that. And I think the tag team gimmick with Sheamus has has kind of run its course. But the tag team division on Raw, it doesn't have the star power that the tag team division on, say, SmackDown Live has. So
Right.
they're keeping them there as like the top heel tag team, which, man, I mean, I guess he's a guy that fills the spot, but Cesaro is leaps and bounds talented above like a majority of the guys he's in the ring with, if you ask me.
Oh no, I don't think that's a question, but I do think that there is something about Cesaro and his interaction as a singles wrestler before, and I think he was put with Sheamus because he was kind of middling as a singles wrestler, and for whatever reason, the crowd just wasn't giving him personally what I think he deserves as far as a push. And I think that's just whatever his interaction is with the audience in WWE. I don't know. I don't know what he's lacking with that audience, but I mean, I think he's just as good as anybody in the ring, if not better. He's one of the best wrestlers they have in the company, period.
Well, it goes back to
in reaction that he should.
Oh, I'm sorry. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of like demographic, right? Mm-hmm. Cesaro wrestles in ROH, New Japan Pro style of wrestling,
right?
And that is not the WWE demographic. So I mean, it's just not. And it's through nobody's fault. It's just the people who choose that flavor of ice cream, so to speak, don't like buy what he's putting. But I think that he could go, New Japan Pro, Ring of Honor, and become like Godzilla. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Well, he did in Ring of Honor, but yeah, I mean, I guess I've never really thought of it that way. That maybe it's not his particular skill set, but it's just the total package doesn't necessarily transcend where it could be better suited for a Ring of Honor, a Lucha Underground, a New Japan. He would kill it.
Ring of Honor, they brand themselves the best wrestling on the planet, and that's where you're seeing like athletes on display. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And Cesaro is nothing short of like amazing, from his springboards, like everything. I mean, I feel like that when I'm watching Ring of Honor, I expect to see a Cesaro-like match versus, WWE.
Well, exactly. That's
I can see Cesaro going. Say again.
And I would say that's where like a Donovan Dijak comes into play, and we've definitely seen his talents on the television screen via Ring of Honor, and that's where his star really took off like a rocket.
And more to come. More to come. Made his debut in NXT last week, so look forward to seeing that guy on
Oh, for sure.
So did you cover your 4 topics?
I got one more, and I'm saving the best one for last. But if you got a question, go ahead, throw it out there. I was
just gonna revert just a little bit because it came to my mind and I didn't want to forget. So over this past weekend, if I'm correct, because I'm losing track of dates. Over this past weekend, because No Pro was the weekend before, or was it last week? I'm confused. Oh, it was the day after. Okay, I'm confused. Yeah. You captured some goal for yourself. Totally not familiar with UCW. And shout out to which seems to be a lot of their supporters. Definitely been tweeting and helping us retweet and promote the show for the night. But definitely, this is the blandest question we're going to have for the night. Let's talk about that promotion, and get us accustomed to it and why people need to be there, because you are their new champion.
Yes, I am. First off, thank you for bringing that in. I was going to plug them regardless, but UCW, they're a phenomenal promotion. It's fairly new. They went through a rebranding phase. But like they need to be there. We have all of the we're on track and on par to compete with any super indie or big indie like in Virginia. You have guys from Maryland, you got guys from North Carolina showing up, and the show was great. The show was phenomenal. It was what was it? It was eight matches. Tag team champions defended. You had Matt Sells from Ring of Honor. like he and Jimmy Flame from up in Maryland, and their tag team. Damn it, they're gonna kill me because I forgot the name of their tag. Cheap Thrills. Cheap Thrills. They competed against Noise Pollution, which was a phenomenal match. You have some Maryland darlings, as in Mr. Grimm and Sicken, Nick Taylor, or Nick Sicken. I'm sorry, who competed and put on like a phenomenal showing. UCW is up and coming. Same faces, different brand, different kind of energy. And we actually went there. The show ended, fairly early. I mean, we were, for an indie show, no show should go past like 11, and we were out of there before 10 in time to have beers. And actually had another first. I got to work against Papa Stro, which for you nostalgic wrestling fans was the maestro in WCW. He and I actually ended up competing to become the inaugural champion. I was able to come out with the victory on that one. And so like it's growing, and definitely the production level, the customer service, everything from top to bottom, just a top-notch organization. And if you don't know and are unfamiliar with the organization, get familiar because we're coming.
Talk about
how can we find them?
Say again.
Find them.
They're on Facebook, Ultimate Championship Wrestling LLC. They're on
Twitter,
the internet themselves, ucwforever.com. I'm actually having a link to their website added to my website, so you'll be able to find it there. YouTube, UCW,
Twitter
Instagram,
at UCW 2017.
Indeed. I was coming to Twitter. Twitter's my baby, but it also gets me in trouble. I'm kind of like the president. It gets me in trouble. So definitely. And anything you can find. I got in trouble earlier because I didn't hashtag them in the actual title photo, but everything that I'm tagging from here on, championship status, UCW, man. Honestly, I can't ask for a better staff, executives, backstage crew, camera crew, than the professionalism that was displayed at this organization. So wrestlers trying to get booked there, definitely between Mr. DeVore and Diego, like hit them up. Fans that would like to see the show, the tickets are on sale on the website, on the Facebook page. Again, they'll be on my website following this podcast. And anything that we can do, man, to make Virginia wrestling the hotbed that I feel like it should be.
Mm-hmm. Two questions. One, I wanted you, if you could talk about the finish of that match upon winning the victory, and obviously going into your finishing technique.
Actually, I bent the rules just a tad. So the match kicked off. Stro comes out of the ring. He attacks. There a fist fight ensues. Obviously, I start to get the better of him because I hit him with the haymaker. And
the sonic boom.
He cuts me off with the leg.
Just call it the sonic boom.
Until Capcom, has words with you.
Oh, for sure. So I had to hit him with like a few of those. So he took out my leg, you know what I mean, and he worked that a little bit inside of the match, and he rolls with the this tag team called the Hounds of Hades, Austin and Jackson Shadows. They were at ringside causing chaos or whatever, and he goes to hit me with a branding iron, but as he raised it, I kicked him in the ribs and I actually hit him with the iron. And I get the pin from right there. So I didn't actually hit him with the finish. I just did to him what he was attempting to do unto me. The Bible says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But I believe in doing unto others, period.
So considering that we have Juggernaut, which is could be potentially problems with Marvel. I'm just going to say that you should name that discus lariat that you throw. We're just gonna call that the sonic boom. Considering you're a Navy guy, you may have some problems with Guile since he's an Air Force guy. You know, you have a lot of trouble coming your way. It's all I'm putting up here.
I mean, you know, the Air Force, they don't really do anything anyway. Jokes. Nah, these are just jokes, man. I love my brothers in arms,
all day
for sure. But legal trouble, we'll burn that bridge when we come across it. But until then, we're just gonna have fun and you know, give the people what they want to see. Which when you see me, you expect people to get slammed and punched in the mouth, and that's what I'm gonna continue doing.
Now, and my last question, and then I'll hand it back to Jamal. Now, I opened up the show talking about how you're such a nice guy, and I'm sure that's going to be very much part of the answer to this question. But a lot of new promotions are taking chances with your image, your face in the front of the flyers, putting you on their inaugural show. What do you think it is about you that these promoters are like, I need this guy on my show? What is it?
I would hope that, like initially, I'm sure, you know, physique had a lot to do with it. Again, I try my best to look like a wrestler, you know, at a minimum. That'll get you some bookings, but like I would hope that performance and reputation goes like a long way in this business. I'm sure, you know, you guys being podcast guys. So I just try and show up on time, you know, dressed well, you know, shake everybody's hand, learn people's names, and just try and serve the company as best I can. And I would like to believe that that's not a secret among bookers, because it's certainly not a secret like among wrestlers. It's like, hey, have you heard of this guy? You ever wrestled this guy before? How is he? I would like to think that the same is true on the executive level for these promotions. I'm certainly grateful, for sure, to God for, number one, giving me the ability to go work out and train to, you know, try and maintain a physique like this one. Secondly, anybody who's ever played a part in my career, whether it's, you know, Cedric Alexander, who like I've only met once, but I study him religiously, whether it's Preston Quinn, Damian Wayne, Sean and Mark Denny, Phil Brown, even the company Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling that I started out training with. If nothing else, they showed me showmanship, if nothing else. So like I have a great amount of gratitude for anybody who's ever played anything in my career. And with advice, you know, you kind of take the meat and spit out the bones. So hopefully I'm applying it well, and I'm making those guys who invested their time and their energy into me proud.
All right. Yeah, that's what's up. You know, it's a business, but of course you have to represent yourself and the business, the guys you're working for well. You know, everybody has the same goal in the building. Let's go make some money.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So my last story, before we wrap this little thing up, it's a doozy. Marty Jannetty, who is going to be down at Starrcade in North Carolina, he made a post on Facebook, and I would read it, but it's very poorly written. If he were drunk and Russian, then it would make a lot more sense. But basically, his daughter, he didn't know that he had a daughter, and he met her in 2014. They connected, and she is a lovely woman named Brianna, I believe. So he posted a message on his Facebook page that said, well, hey, guess what, guys? My daughter isn't my daughter, so can we do sex now? So, right.
Wait, what?
Right. Right. So the question is, why is Marty Jannetty, A, telling the world that his daughter is not his daughter, and B, why in the same post if he's trying to hook up with her? None of these things are okay. Except he was hacked, and that wasn't him posting it. I'm actually reading this from the Daily Mail in London, and there was a story that broke there where Jannetty, who posted a lengthy post, and apparently he gets hacked all the time, 4 times on Facebook in the last year, 7 according to him since like he started a social media presence. But he says in a post made a couple hours ago, And the title of the post was "Breaking News for All Media" in big capital letters. No sex with daughters. It's fake news. My site was hacked, or it came from a fake account, which I'm constantly having Facebook remove them. I've been hacked 7 times before since on Facebook. He attributed, and I'm reading this from the Daily Mail, attributed dubious posts to an unknown thief who has pilfered his phone he had lost some weeks before, citing a photo of himself. Unique to that, he had been sent to people in his private message list. So I know that obviously this is, her name is Bianca Marchioni, and they connected for the first time in 2014, and that's good on him. He said, you know what, I've been kind of a partier, you know, hanging out with Ric Flair and the boys, and I'm not about that life anymore, because even though she's, you know, in her 20s, I want to be a role model to this woman. So good on you, Marty, but Jesus, that's a hell of a thing to happen when you get your Facebook account hacked. So I got to ask you, especially since we've seen the rise of, or the coverage of wrestling leaks and stuff like that, that's got to be the elephant in the room for you when you put yourself out there so much in different social media avenues.
Oh, for sure. And on a smaller scale, it's actually happened. On my Facebook page, I have a picture of me overlooking a balcony from a deployment that I was on back in 2014.
I saw this.
A guy from Chicago actually took that picture and was using it to get bookings in the Chicago area.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, I mean, granted, that's nowhere near the scale that it happened to me, to Marty Jannetty, but like it's definitely like an elephant in the room. I feel like that I'm not at that level yet, and hopefully by that time I can be Twitter verified or Instagram verified. But by the time like I even have to worry about that kind of stuff, but military training teaches OPSEC and information assurance awareness and stuff like that. And I think that training has, been beneficial to me in terms of like creating strong passwords, not opening suspicious things, and not accepting friend requests from females who were one friend and their first post was in 2016 or something like that, because they're out there.
Right.
So I feel like that, I don't know everything that's out there, but anytime that, you know, there's wind of some kind of hack or some kind of scam, like we're usually the first to know, and we're told to like protect ourselves. That kind of way. That's a terrible thing to go through for Marty, especially, you know, just connecting with his daughter, because, you know, at a minimum, it has to put some kind of doubt in her mind. Was he hacked? Was he not hacked? That kind of stuff. So,
well, yeah, that definitely raises some questions, especially coming off the heels of a 2013 interview where he did admit that he had sex with a family member at 12 years old. So there is that.
Oh, well, Lifetime getting their writers ready, because, you know, they love stories like this, and they put this right on TV and make their money. And this has just got weird.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's kind of like my grandma used to say, if the river's making noise, it's usually because it's bringing water. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, that this story is 100% true or it is 100% false, but circumstantial evidence would suggest that Marty probably should, you know, at least deactivate or, you know, change some passwords or maybe take a break.
Yep.
Especially, I had no idea about that interview, the previous interview. This situation right here, I was just reading about it, I think yesterday, and at a minimum, you know, he should probably take a break or, you know, change some stuff around.
Yeah, he definitely should. He probably want to just go ahead and stick to Club Penguin or something. You know, maybe like play some Minecraft, something, because he don't need that. He don't need that.
He's not about that life, so he needs to.
But the problem is, or is he? So
touchy.
That's it. I'm done. That's the news for this week, and let's get out of here.
I got my last question. Then Jamal, you can we'll throw it back to DeJuan, and we can close the show. Plug everything in. But one last question. So we mentioned the military, and I definitely want to take a second to say thank you for your service.
Thanks for the support.
I have friends in the military, but not too knowledgeable on this subject. I know you are stationed in Norfolk. Did I say Norfolk right? Because you know people out there, you got to make sure you say it correct.
Listen,
Norfolk.
I'm from Boston.
Yeah, I know, but you're there, so you know how to. You ain't going to be out there and not know how to say it correctly. Like you go to Baltimore,
I think they say Norfolk.
Norfolk, yeah, okay.
they say Norfolk. Like it's weird, but it's comfortable to say at the same time. Like it's crazy because in Boston we have a habit of dropping R's.
Right,
anyway.
right.
So,
That's right.
So it's like so I think they say like Norfolk, something like that.
Yeah.
But you are out there, and I know there must be an expiration date until you're stationed somewhere else, or what's next? Because I can only imagine, and knowing that you are taking bookings everywhere on the East Coast, so by any reason, Canada, yes. So by any reasons, if you are stationed somewhere else because you are active, how do you look at the horizons of this circumstance? Because obviously you named plenty of big promotions you will want to work down in Texas, and there's wrestling all over. But considering that you are here with us on the East Coast, which is an absolute great thing, and we'll be following your career no matter where you go. How do you look at this? Or could you shed some light into this?
Yeah, sure. Like there is nothing that should stop anybody from doing what they want to do. Distance, nothing. So no matter where I am, like I'm going to wrestle. Like if I get stationed, overseas somewhere, I'll find the closest promotion and go there and wrestle. If I get stationed on the West Coast, there's plenty in Cali. I'll just learn different styles. I mean, it'll all, as not only as a human being, but as a wrestler, it'll give me different perspectives on psychology, and everything. Wrestling I want that to be my end goal. So, distance or having to drive or fly or pay my own expenses to another country, to wrestle. That's just a drop in the bucket. And it's something that I'm definitely willing. I can't even say sacrifice. It's definitely something I'm willing to put in, because to me, being able to wrestle and expose and build a brand is way greater than anything that I'll ever put into it.
Absolutely. You're absolutely invested in yourself and everything you want to do. And it, without knowing you, without anything, the gear speaks for itself. Best gear out there I've seen of somebody I did not originally know.
So, like,
because
not another note. When we first saw you, very first time ever in Baltimore, and I don't know if I heard that they billed you from Norfolk, but I saw that you had 617 on your trunks, and I'm thinking either this guy is from Boston or he really hates them, because he has literally Boston on his dick right now. So I was a bit confused. Like, why would he put Boston right there?
Well, we weren't at liberty to say anything, but BCW definitely, their fans definitely spoke out about that. I don't even know if they saw numbers.
So here's the thing, right? So here's the thing. Actually, what happened with that was I was waiting on my current gear to be made, and I ended up switching like gear makers. So one guy, I'm not gonna bury him, but was supposed to make my gear. I ordered it in February. Here it was, BCW time, and I still didn't have it. So I ended up ordering like some generic trunks off of Amazon and taking them to the mall to get like the logos and everything stitched on it. Like, I kid you not, it's a true story. And so I go up there, and the original pair that I wanted to put on were red and black, like the Chicago Bulls colors. But every indie wrestler seems to want to wear red and black. So I switched into like these black and lime green ones. Then I'm like, well, I'm supposed to be working face. I don't want to wear dark colors. And then the words of Bob Evans kept playing in my head. Black wrestlers shouldn't wear black. There's nothing that pops about it. Fine. So then I put on the blue ones, and that's what I ended up wearing. And then I think 2 or 3 weeks after that show, my original set, one of 3, showed up to the next show. So then I heard about the lady who makes my gear now, Z's Creations, out in Las Vegas. Shout out to Z. She's definitely taking good care of me, and with a quick turnaround time for any wrestler looking to get high quality gear made. Inbox me, message me something. I'll get you her contact information. But I asked her, I sent her a picture of the front and the back of that gear and say, can you make these? And she's like, yeah. 2 weeks later, I have them in all different colors now. And in terms of what the numbers were, Boston is what gives me the ability to swing or walk around like I swing a big one. So why that's a perfect place for the area code of Boston.
Fair enough.
I'm not going to call you that famous baseball player who recently retired from the Red Sox, but yeah, I get what you're going there with that.
So let's just, if you've never been to Boston, Suffolk County is massive. I'll say that.
It is.
Boston's
the greatest city in the world.
Okay, so yeah, so we should end it on that note because I don't know if I can co-sign that. I mean, I've been to Boston. Well, that or not, because Jamestown is a thing. You're a hell of a lot closer to there than Boston.
Yeah, but Jamestown was only a colony. But it wasn't if Sam Adams and the boys decided they were going to punch the king in the mouth that started. And the first guy to take a shot and die for this country happened in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a Caribou Coffee right next door to that spot, so Boston's beautiful.
I'm just saying.
Boston's a beautiful city. Shout out to my boy Crispus Attucks, because he's the only person in the world named Crispus. But
fact.
Yeah. So before we completely bore everybody with American history, real facts, not alternative facts. Please plug your Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Black Planet, your MySpace, all of that.
And your upcoming shows as well too.
Okay, so Twitter, DeJuan O'Neal 22N on Twitter. That's DeJuan O'Neal 22N. 22N obviously standing for second to none. Instagram, DeJuan O'Neal 1, the number 1. Facebook, you can find me, DeJuan O'Neal, or the fan page is The Juggernaut. But if you go to my website, DeJuan1.com, DeJuan1.com, I have links to all of my social media, and the UCWForever.com is going to have a button up there so you can stay tuned to all of the events and ongoings of such a great promotion. The Catch These Hands tour, we're coming up. Let me see what we got. We got Next Evolution Wrestling coming up. We got Classic Pro Wrestling October 7th. That's going to be a big deal. I'm taking on Mick Drake, who recently made an appearance on NXT, so I'm kind of excited about that match. Then we got in October, Pumpkin Spice Lariats or something of that nature.
Yeah. That's Nova Pro's next show on the 27th, I believe. And that's
27th. They run Fridays. That is correct.
Yeah, and that's the day before the next UCW show on the 28th in Sterling.
Indeed. Up in Sterling. I should be in the building defending the title, or at least looking for a number 1 contender at that point. Mm-hmm. What's after that? Let's see. November UCW's running again. They're finalizing the date for November. It's either going to be the 18th or the 25th. So stay tuned for details on that, and I'll definitely blast that as soon as I get it. Other than that, man, we're looking forward to a real productive fall and fourth quarter of the year, and bringing the Catch These Hands tour nation, if not worldwide.
Okay, that sounds awesome. So just to recap, because of the Catch These Hands tour, expect a call from Wesley Snipes. Because of the Juggernaut, expect a call from Disney and Marvel. And
and the Sonic Boom from Capcom.
Do expect a call from Capcom. So yeah, I think we got all our bases covered.
So anybody that's listening that may be a lawyer, hit me up or hit them up directly. This is a good opportunity.
I'm not making that kind of money. Wesley Snipes, maybe. I'm not sure what his tax situation is looking like.
I'm about to say you might be making more than Wesley because he's in the hole.
I mean, he straightened that out. He just did a movie. He should be good.
He broke
even. Wesley did a movie with Seth Rollins, so Wesley's good.
Fair enough.
Wesley's good.
Yeah.
CrossFit Jesus, yeah. You're in good company.
Exactly. I think he played. I did see it. Yeah, that's we'll cover that later on because that was you got to see it. I can't just go in and just say what happens, but you just got to be there. You know, it doesn't make sense if you don't see it.
Jamal, I'm trying to judge if this is a good or a bad reaction that you have to this movie, but you don't have any tells.
Well, I mean, like the long and short of it is, the rent got paid that month, and that's all that matters.
Okay, noted.
Right. So let's get out of here. This is the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. DeJuan, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, for sure. Please.
Yeah, man, it's a long time coming, but you know.
Well, we're doubling down. We're doubling down. We'll be doing this again soon.
Yeah, we definitely need to catch up with you before the Nova Pro show and the UCW show, since you are the face that runs the place, the champ that runs the camp.
Indeed, Mr. Second to None, DeJuan O'Neal, UCW. Hey, you got to get me back on here for this.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely, we catch up with you before then. But until next weekend, great having you on. But we'll do it again next week. Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. You can catch us on all of our social media at BGB Group on the Twitter and Facebook. I'm at Giant Crab on the Twitter machine, and we'll see you next week. I'm Jamal, 2 Chains, DeJuan. See you again. And this is Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. We out of here. Till next Thursday.